Hello, everybody. Welcome to our webinar on building stronger commercial relationships and deposit growth and protection with Positive Pay. So we have, I've got a couple of panelists who are going to participate in this with me, and we'll let them do introductions in a minute. But our intent today is to give you just some good information about Positive Pay, how it really protects your business accounts from fraud, and how it can also help you grow deposits, which is obviously important for everybody today. So first, I am Todd Glenn. I'm sales executive at Alchemy, and I specialize with our Positive Pay products and our ACH reporting tools. And here with me are Michelle Willard from Midwest Bank and Todd Lindsay from Heartland Bank. I'll let them introduce themselves. So Michelle, would you like to go first?
Sure. Michelle Willard with Midwest Bank. I'm the director of their cash management department, been in banking for 30 plus years and been using ACH Alerts Positive Pay for going on 3 years.
Todd.
Hi, I'm Todd Lindsay. I'm with Heartland Bank. I manage the Treasury Services Division at the bank. I've been at Heartland for 8 years, been in the business since 1997. And we've been on the Alchemy system for just over a year now.
Awesome. Thank you. In terms of the agenda, well, we're going to spend a little bit of time today just giving you a brief overview of Positive Pay. Want to make sure we're all on the same page there. I've got some stats and trends on what payment fraud looks like in our environment today. And then we're going to talk in our panel discussion about several different topics: implementing Positive Pay, managing Positive Pay. How do you enhance the client relationship with Positive Pay at the same time enhancing security? And we'll also get into some content on pricing and how effective the products have been for the two panelists today. So what is Positive Pay? Couple of things. And again, this is just high level. Of course, there are some, we can get pretty deep on this. But ACH Positive Pay is a way of automatically identifying and approving ACH credits and debits as they're posting to your business account holders' accounts. So they can easily identify transactions from trusted partners, their suppliers, whatever the case may be, make sure those are paid, make sure those are approved for future payments as they come in. And at the same time, they can block transactions from unknown parties that are not authorized to debit them. So it gives the user, the account holder, complete control over what ACH items get paid and what don't. Check Positive Pay has been around a little bit longer than ACH Positive Pay, and it's really it ensures that only the checks that the business has reported as they issued to clear. And they can also at the same time promptly identify issues with checks that they may have issued, such as invalid or altered checks, altered payees, amounts, counterfeit checks, etc. All right, with that said, we've got some information I want to share with you. This is a survey that a group called AFP, independent group, did. The results just came out this in April, and you can see what happens is they surveyed hundreds of businesses in the country and asked them about their experience with payment fraud. What they found out was 80% of the organizations that they surveyed indicated they experienced either attempted or actual fraud. That is actually one of the highest numbers we've seen in years. It's a pretty steep incline from last year's survey. And you can see, obviously, payment fraud is a huge issue for most of the businesses out there. From that same survey, they asked the participants to tell them what type of payment was targeted in those fraudulent attempts. You can see 65% of them said check fraud was what they were impacted with. That's up a little bit from the previous year. 33% were affected by ACH debit fraud. That's also an increase of about 3%. Wire fraud at 24%, and then ACH credit fraud at 19%. So again, check and ACH fraud continue to be an issue. Obviously, that's why Positive Pay is a good solution for it. From a different report, this is some numbers from FinCEN. They report every year on the number of check fraud cases that are submitted to them. You can see last year they received 709,000 cases of check fraud. Huge number. But even, I think, more impressive is that's about a 150% increase over the number of cases in 2020, just 3 years prior. So you can tell check volume is definitely going down. We all know that. But the fact remains, check fraud is going up, as is the average dollar amount of checks. So it's still obviously an issue that we need to deal with. Thought this was interesting. If you were to Google check fraud, you'll get about a billion and a half responses. And these are just some of the headlines out there. Stolen checks, obviously a huge issue. Paper check fraud on the rise. Don't mail checks anymore. There are just millions and millions of instances there are examples of check fraud that you can see. So obviously, again, a lot of people think check fraud is going down because the volume's going down, but clearly it is not. All right, now we're going to go into the panel discussion part of the session today. And we have a few questions for Michelle and Todd. So first one is, we want to hear from both of you. Maybe Todd, if you can go first on this, but just tell us a little bit about how your bank's treasury management group is structured. So how do you support Positive Pay? Who does the selling, implementing, training on those Positive Pay products today? Todd?
Sure. So I manage 6 sales reps who their specific duties are to sell all of our treasury management products, including all the Positive Pay services, and to be relationship managers on the relationships as well. Separately, we have 5 support folks that their job is to support all the current customers. They do the implementing and the training when we do sign up new customers for Positive Pay. And it's a group effort. The salespeople and the support folks, we all are in constant contact, and we'll meet with clients together via phone or in person a lot. But we do have kind of the separation of the duties there, where we got a sales division and a servicing division. And we're a $5 billion bank, so it kind of gives you the idea of the numbers.
Yeah, very good. Thank you, Michelle.
Not too different for us. Positive Pay referrals sometimes come from bankers, sometimes are developed as part of a sales call. Then they're submitted to the cash management department, which consists of, we have 2 sales officers for cash management. They would meet with the customers, collect the needed information. And then we have 4 cash management support specialists then that would handle the agreements, collect signatures, onboard, and then train the users on how to use the system. Then during this training, they not only show how to manage their exceptions, but then, of course, how to build their check issue files and how to upload and to make that a successful process. And we're a $3 billion bank too, just to give you an idea of our size.
Yeah, pretty similar. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that leads into next another kind of strategy or policy question, which is, what is your strategy for offering Positive Pay? Do all business checking accounts require, using it? If not, is there a policy around what you do if an account experiences check or ACH fraud? So can you tell us a little about that, Michelle, first, please?
Sure. So for us, it's not mandatory for our business customers, but we ask very strongly, right? We strive to make each business owner aware of the short turnaround time they have when it comes to disputing a check or an ACH posting to their accounts. If fraud occurs, then we do require that they either add Positive Pay or close out that account. So when the option to close and reopen a new account is what they choose, we make sure that they know that it's going to be up to them, right? I mean, easily this can happen again. So it's like you have to make sure that you're going in there every day, and it's going to be on you that you're responsible if there is any additional fraud.
Yeah, very good. Todd, how about you? Any differences there from what Michelle explained?
It's very similar to what Michelle just explained, with one difference. We have a third option. Certainly, we want the customer to go on Positive Pay and to keep that account open. So that is one option, but they can also close the account, as Michelle said as well. But the third option that we have, if they refuse to close the account and they refuse the Positive Pay service, we'll let them keep that account open, but issue them a shift of liability letter, letting them know that any fraud that would occur on this particular compromised account going forward, since you've refused the Positive Pay service, any loss may be on you.
Yeah.
So that's not a great option either, but it does give the customer the ability to choose that if they want.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. It gives them options. And I've heard of other institutions doing the same thing. And kind of a follow on to that, Todd, in general, what size of business would you say really is the key target to use Positive Pay at your institution? And how does that, well, you go ahead and answer that and I'll follow on that.
Sure. Well, the real answer is, fraud doesn't know business size. It's everywhere. But certainly the large and the mid-size and the larger business are more receptive when we talk about it. They're more receptive when they do have fraud to put it in play very quickly because they have a lot of activity and they understand the importance of keeping that account open and making sure it doesn't happen again. So the answer is typically the larger customers, but again, the smaller customers, we talk to them just as much as we do the larger ones because it happens to everybody.
Yeah.
Sadly.
Yeah, sure does. Okay. All right. Thank you for that. Okay. So next topic. And, when you think about Positive Pay, a lot of people never think about this, but Positive Pay products can be offer a competitive advantage too. And what I mean by that is there are a lot of companies out there who will not change their deposit relationship, their main operating accounts, unless the institution offers products like Positive Pay. And I've seen this many times. I've got an example. We're helping a credit union in Arizona. They just rolled out our Positive Pay, which allowed them to win a deal that brought in $12 million in deposits from a customer. We're working with a credit union in Ohio who, by implementing our Positive Pay solution, is actually going to maintain about $20 million of deposits. If they didn't implement it, then that company was going to leave and go somewhere else that offered Positive Pay. So I'm wondering, Todd, do you have any examples or, do you have a strategy for leveraging Positive Pay to enhance a deposit growth? Or do you have any examples of how it's actually helped you do that, bring in new deposits?
Yeah, our strategy is really our folks on the street, which are our sales reps, to talk about it proactively. I really stress on them to get out in front of it even before the customer has had fraud, or if the customer hasn't had any fraud yet. And again, talking to some of those a little more sophisticated customers with the online experience, they will listen more and they will understand the value of it. And by doing that, it indirectly, sometimes we've seen increases relationships as far as deposit size, because a lot of these larger businesses will have multiple banks, as we all know. And, Michelle and I both want to get all the business that any customer has, right? But sometimes that's just not possible because they will spread it around. But if we offer them these services and the other banks haven't, or it just hits right because we're offering it proactively, that will indirectly, what we've seen is increase. They'll bring an account or two over from some of these other banks so they can just consolidate a lot of their check writing into one bank and one Positive Pay system. And that seems to work pretty well. So that's our strategy. It's not necessarily a policy, but we just go out and be real proactive about talking about it.
Yeah. Great. I like it. Okay. Quick answer on this one. Michelle first. With Positive Pay, when you enroll an account for Positive Pay, you have to establish a default decision of either pay or return. Obviously, that's done in the event that the customer or member doesn't log in and decision their items or their exceptions before your cutoff time, then that default pay or return kicks in. So I think this would be helpful for folks to know because I see it all across the board. But Michelle, do you have a default of either pay or return, or do you leave it up to the customer? What do you do?
Nope, everything is a return. I think it gets to be too complicated either if you let customers have a choice on it. So we've always just had it where it's a default. If they don't decision it, then it's a return.
Okay. Great. And Todd?
Yeah, same here. I really don't have anything more to add. We want those customers to get used to decisioning those exception items before the cutoff. But if they don't, it's too risky for us to pay it all. So we return it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that approach. Let me kind of ask another one on that. So do you spell that out in your agreement that the client signs when they sign up for Positive Pay? Do you tell them that is the default?
Yes, in bold letters. Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, us too.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. So next question is on reverse positive pay. Just for everybody's knowledge, there's different ways to define that. But what I mean by reverse positive pay is that's still check positive pay, right? So it's, prevention against check fraud. But what's reverse, what's different is that the customer, remember, doesn't have to upload their check issue details into positive pay. Now, what that means, though, is every check that hits one of those accounts on reverse positive pay is an exception that needs to be reviewed and decisioned. So, Todd, does your bank offer a reverse positive pay?
No, we do not. We want the client to send in the checks that they actually cut. And it
Gotcha.
helps at the teller line as well. We want the tellers to have that list as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the biggest piece there. What about you, Michelle? Is that an option for your customers?
Right. No, we do not offer it. It's nothing that we have in an agreement. But of course, when customers don't upload their files, it defaults to being a reverse positive pay. But like Todd was mentioning, is that you get customers coming in with a check, or a check holder coming in to cash a check, and if they haven't uploaded that file, your tellers are struggling then to try and get a hold of somebody to get it approved. And so there's just so many reasons that it's just so important they upload a file or enter them manually if they only have a few checks.
Gotcha. Right. Okay. Yeah, it's interesting. We hear different responses on that. We do have a lot of clients who offer reverse positive pay, but it's limited in scope. So they're only going to give that to clients who issue very few checks. So probably the smaller businesses. But yeah, there's different opinions on that for sure. So appreciate those responses. Okay, Michelle, one for you. What would you say your number one support issue is for positive pay? So you got a customer calling in saying, hey, this doesn't work, or how do I do this? Can you give us an example?
Yeah, I would say the number one thing we get calls in is how to put in a stop payment, because we require our customers to do their stop payments within ProChecks and not on the core, just because it makes for a cleaner reconciliation in the positive pay system. Because if the positive pay, or if the stop payment is put in on the core, it never hits positive pay for us, and then they don't ever show that check as outstanding. So they don't have to do it too often. So that's usually what we hear.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good one. Thank you. So I'd like to ask a question that could benefit maybe some of the smaller banks and credit unions that might be watching this. And Michelle, maybe if you could give us a response on this one. But, you're both good-sized financial institutions. What would your advice be to a smaller institution, or maybe you've got a credit union that hasn't offered positive pay but is thinking about it? What would you tell them, about initiating the process?
We'd say, tap into your IS and IT teams and get them engaged in the process, because it's really that file transfer of the checks and ACH that are incoming. Using the FIT module that's offered by ACH Alerts is a great tool to automate that service. And then, once it's set up, it's really seamless and just happens for you. But it's really just knowing that your backroom team can get the job done for you.
All right, a little different topic here. How does positive pay help you enhance relationships and security? So, as we know, business accounts are not protected the same way consumer accounts are in terms of, Reg E and those different regulations. A business only has a limited amount of time after an ACH or a check item clears to return it in a timely manner. So, how do your banks educate your business clients on fraud prevention best practices to help them protect their assets and, solidify that trust they have with the financial institution? Michelle, would you go first on that?
Sure. So we do a lot with the blogs and email promotion, or just email notifications, and even just when we're onboarding customers too. And then we also make sure that our bankers, when they're opening these business accounts, that they're making sure that they're aware of their limited time to respond to the whatever posts to their account.
Gotcha. And Todd, please.
Yeah, it's very similar from A to Z, from the time a business customer walks in to inquire about opening an account and wants to open an account, our frontline bankers certainly do go through a whole checklist of some best practices to help them prevent fraud. And then if they get signed up into any of the TM services and we get introduced to them, our reps go through again with the litany of products that we have. We certainly spend a lot of time on educating them about fraud prevention. And if we do get them into a positive pay product, our support staff in the back end of it will also give the customer, and during the implementation and training, we'll also give them a lot of best practices for, how different things about checks and, making sure that the check stock is secure, and just goes through the entire process with the customer to make sure that they hear it from multiple sources, that they have to kind of pay attention to this particular when they're writing checks and when they're making payments, because it's so prevalent. Fraud is so prevalent out there. So it's a complete A to Z.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. So I guess it's fair to say it's not just about educating the business account holders, but you have to educate internally too at the bank or credit union. So thank you. Good points. All right. Michelle, could you give us a little example of, marketing initiatives that your bank has employed to help promote positive pay? And I think I've got an example here. So go ahead.
Yeah. So recently we did an email blast to our customers, to our businesses, of course, that they could have 3 months free of positive pay. And we timed it so it was during cybersecurity month, fell within that promotion period, just as a little added impact. And then we linked out to blogs and articles that were on our website, and we got a really good response. We had nearly 50 new accounts added, and we've actually decided to continue that with anytime we have new positive pay or potential positive pay customers. We're offering them 3 months at no charge, just to get them in the door and give them a taste of it, and showing them that it's not as scary as it may seem when they, first think about what they have to do with it. The other piece that you'll see here is a buck slip, and our marketing team created this to sit at the banker desks, so that when businesses are in opening accounts, it encourages a conversation about positive pay. The QR code gives them a link out to our website to give them more information, but it just encourages that conversation around why positive pay is needed for businesses. And sometimes, especially new bankers, it's nice to kind of have a little bit of that having a trigger to start that conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it. And I like the 3 months of no fees too. I think that's removes one of the barriers for sure. Get them to try it. Okay, good. Okay, pricing and product effectiveness. So I'm not going to ask you what you charge for positive pay. I know both of your institutions do charge fees for positive pay, but can you share a little about what your strategy is? As a bundled pricing. Not what you charge, but how do you structure charges for positive pay? Todd, do you mind going first?
Oh, sure, no problem. Yes, we charge. In fact, I looked up the numbers. The 2024 new fee income, almost half of our new fee income for all of our treasury management suite of products is coming from fraud protection products. So if you're not charging for it, you're leaving money on the table. Having said that, we may be a little bit different than a lot of banks in that we don't really offer bundles. What I do is we give our sales reps a lot of leeway to bundle it if it makes sense for a particular customer, to discount it. We certainly don't want to give it away. We don't want to discount it, but sometimes the relationship dictates that, and it might be a competitive situation, what have you. But we can really be flexible on our pricing strategy with that.
Yeah, good. Michelle, anything different you'd like to point out?
I would say we do give like ACH and check positive pay, as we kind of consider it one product. So even if a customer only wanted one of those, we would still charge the same price. And so we charge one price for that first account, and then for each additional account, it's less than 50% of that. So we reduce it to make it more appealing than to add those additional accounts onto it. Plus, they don't get charged for their stop payment since we have them put it on within the positive pay system. So it's another discount for them.
Oh, that's a good point. Okay. Thanks for sharing that. All right, Todd, do you have any examples of losses that were prevented from positive pay? Then maybe if you can touch on too, what's the most common type of fraud that you guys see?
Yeah, I do. I have a really good customer here in Illinois that I call them a good customer because they listen to just about everything that I recommend to them and tell them to do, except for one thing. And that's where the story is. So they're a very active customer. They have a lot of payments. They still write a lot of checks. We're working on getting them off of that, but they do write a lot of checks. And one day they wrote a bunch. They had a big check run and put them in envelopes, put it in an unlocked mailbox on a very, very busy street. And we believe that every one of those pieces of mail were stolen. Every one of those checks that were in that mailbox was washed, meaning the payee was changed and cashed at different banks all around our region. And when every single one of those checks came back, as an exception, obviously on their positive pay system, because they had positive pay, and again, they listened to me, they were able to return. No losses to the bank, no loss to the customer. So that's a big win. And that is what I see in our markets anyway, more than anything else, is the payee alteration. That's the most common type of fraud that we're currently seeing. So payee positive pay is very, very important.
Yeah, agreed. All the studies I've seen, the numbers, the fraud reports, most of that is payee alterations. So wash payee name, replace it with something else. So great. Payee positive pay is crucial at this point. So when you think about positive pay, a lot of people think, it's great because these businesses can protect their accounts. But what about internal accounts that are used by the bank or credit union? They can use positive pay too. And Michelle, you do use positive pay on some of your internal accounts. Is that right?
Right. Practice what you preach, right?
Yeah.
Yep. At Midwest, we use it for our cashier's checks, interest disbursements, expense checks, loan escrow, and our insurance agency as well, all run through positive pay modules. So, and we've definitely caught some using it. So it's a benefit.
Yeah.
We don't charge them though.
Oh, you charge more.
Oh, come on.
Too nice. All right. Kind of one of the questions to start wrapping this up, and what I'd like to hear from both of you, maybe Todd first since Michelle just went, but how crucial do you feel offering positive pay is, in terms of securing, deposits and also increasing customer deposits at your institution?
I think it's absolutely crucial that banks of any size with any capacity have positive pay, have fraud protection services. It's out there. We see it multiple times daily. You're going to lose business if you don't have it. You're not necessarily going to lose business to the big mega banks either. You're going to lose it to the guy down the street if you don't have it, because customers are looking for protection on their accounts today for sure. And this is something that we talk about more than anything else, as we've said in this call. You can you can win an RFP situation where it's not required, that they don't ask for positive pay, but if you go forward and say, as an optional service, we recommend that you do positive pay, that might spark some interest with the RFP provider, and you might win some business that way. So it is crucial to have, and it is something that can certainly increase your deposit in your customer base.
Thank you. Michelle, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, if you can do anything to build confidence in your bank, if you've got a customer with millions and millions of dollars in your bank, to know that this tool is in place to help them manage their funds. One tool that came to mind when I was thinking of this question was the ability to put in a dollar amount. Like, say, back in the day, it always used to be 2 signatures required on, say, a check over $50,000, right? That you can go in, the customers can put in their own dollar limit if they want every check over $50,000 to kick out for them to look at, to validate signatures, or if they want it to be 2 signatures, just those little things to be able to add to the service. And especially when you're looking at nonprofits and public fund entities, I just think that's another great sales tool for making them feel confident in what you have to offer.
Yeah. Great point. All right, as we're wrapping up, I'd like to invite the webinar attendees to respond to the poll that we're putting up now. If you're interested in learning more about Positive Pay or would like a demo, have any questions from us, please indicate that. Also want to let you know that we will be at the Nacha Payments Conference here coming up quickly. We're in booth 426, so please come in and say hello to us. If you have any questions, we'd love to chat with you there as well. And while the poll's up, one final question for the panelists. Why did you convert from your legacy Positive Pay system to Alchemy's Positive Pay system? Who wants to go first? Michelle, you okay?
Yep, I'll go. So our legacy system was really cumbersome and a pain process for the bank and for customers. We didn't even use the payee recognition anymore just because it was never worked, right? A lot of failures. And with ACH Alert, we're very confident in it. We've implemented for every customer that payee name line recognition is turned on and have a really high success rate with it. So I would say we were 100% excited that we made the change, and we went from about 12 customers to 150. So you can tell that it's helped us grow.
Yeah, no, that's great to hear. Thank you. Todd, please.
Yeah, I'll make this real easy. I'll just echo Michelle's comments for the most part. The main reason we switched over is the user friendliness, the non-user friendliness of our previous system. And the ACH Alert system is so much more friendly from both, as Michelle said, the customer standpoint and our bank standpoint. So it has helped with our adoption as well. And it's been great.
That's good to hear. As you can tell, we're all pretty passionate about Positive Pay, which sounds kind of funny, but the product's effective and it helps people prevent losses. So just last year, our Positive Pay solutions, and this would be check and ACH, prevented over $2.6 billion in fraud. So they're effective, they work. Well, thanks everybody again for joining us, and a special thank you to our panelists, to Todd and to Michelle. Really appreciate them spending the time to share, their experience and their opinions with us, and obviously what they've learned. So thank you.